Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Martin Silver MMA show. And as you know, we are back for a big one this weekend. UFC 302, Islam Makhachev versus Dustin Poirier goes down this weekend. The lightweight strap is on the line. First of all, Oscar, how are you?
I feel really good right now. This is the commencement of potentially the best month of the year for fight fans, June, which contains two pay-per-views and two high-quality fight nights. And we are kicking it off on June 1st, this Saturday, UFC 302 in Newark, New Jersey, and we have a lightweight title fight. I'm so pumped for this. Honestly, it feels like this is Dustin Poirier's story. We could see a fairy tale ending this Saturday, but he has an immense challenge in front of him.
Yeah, the immense challenge in front of him is Islam Makhachev. I'm sorry, lost my vocals there. Habib Nurmagomedov prodigy in Islam Makhachev. 25-1 is the Russian. It's a huge task, isn't it? As you were talking about, obviously been on a fantastic run. 14-1 inside DOC, knocked out Alexander Volkanovski, beat Volkanovski as well by decision, beat Charles Oliveira, beat Bobby Green, etc. He's on a good run. Dustin Poirier is another challenge. He's a veteran, he's gritty, and we're going to find out what's happening this weekend. Like you mentioned there, let's get into it. Let's not waste any time. Obviously, this one's going to be a bit of a quicker episode as well, because there was no fights to talk about. I hope you enjoyed your week off, sorry. But let's get straight back to business. Isn't that right, Oscar? Let's get straight back to what we like doing, watching fights and talking about them.
All right, so in the main event, we have the lightweight title fight between Islam Makhachev, the champion, and the Diamond Dustin Poirier. And plain and simple, it all comes down to, can Dustin Poirier stop the grappling offense from Islam? Islam is known for his takedowns and his top pressure, and then he eventually breaks guys and gets submissions. And in an odd case, he can knock him out, as he did with Alexander Volkanovski and Gleison Tibau. He has the power to knock guys out. Dustin Poirier himself was knocked out last year by Justin Gaethje with a head kick. That is not entirely out of the question, but I saw an interview with Islam's coach, Javier Mendez. He said that the plan is to take down Dustin and to eventually try to finish him with a submission. And that's what I see happening here. I do think that Dustin Poirier has a little bit of a deficiency when it comes to submission defense. He's had two title fights before, one against Charles Oliveira and one against Islam's mentor, Habib Nurmagomedov. Habib tapped him out in round 3, and Charles Oliveira tapped him out in round 3. So Dustin Poirier has a little issue defending that rear naked choke, but Islam said that he has something else in mind, and I think that is an arm triangle. He's got a really good arm triangle. He's tapped out Drew Dober with it, and it was just it was a great fight from Islam. Islam just stayed heavy on top the whole time. He was not really looking to land anything on top. He was just looking to be a wet blanket, wear him out. Dustin in his last fight fought Benoit Saint-Denis. He got taken down a lot in that fight. But to be fair, he did give up a lot of those takedowns because he was attempting a guillotine. And the guillotine is become somewhat of a joke these last couple of weeks amongst fight fans. I don't think Dustin is going to go for a guillotine here. I just feel like Dustin is joking right now, but if he were to go for that guillotine, it would be a mistake in my opinion. Because guess what? The reason he got that guillotine so tight on Habib fed him his neck. He did that on purpose. In the back, Habib was training the guillotine defense. He did it so Dustin would wear out his arms and be vulnerable for that rear naked choke. I think Islam is looking to do the same thing. Sure, on the feet, Dustin will likely have his moments. Islam is not as durable as Habib. We could see Islam on wobbly legs, but eventually he will get on top. And I just believe Dustin Poirier will give up that submission in round 3.
Yeah, you put it, to the T. Pretty much everything that you said there, I agree with. I think eventually Islam Makhachev will eventually break down Dustin Poirier. I think we're going to see 2 tough rounds from Dustin Poirier. where it's going to be, very close, very back and forth between Islam Makhachev and Dustin Poirier. But eventually, like you mentioned there, his superior Habib tapped him out in the third round. Charles Oliveira tapped him out in the third round. I feel like that's where I feel like that's where the switch happens. I feel like that's where he gets submitted. I feel like Dustin Poirier is elite. He's got his wrestling is down. He's got some good wrestling as well. But it's doing it for 5 rounds. One of the best wrestlers against one of the best wrestlers we've ever seen in the lightweight division. Obviously, we had Habib, Islam Makhachev, so it's a tough ask. He can't defensively wrestle for 5 rounds. It's just not going to work. He's going to be way too tired. And eventually, Islam Makhachev will find that back, or will find the arm triangle, as you mentioned, or find a dash choke. It's going to happen. Islam Makhachev is going to choke out Dustin Poirier. 100% agree with that one. Yeah, I think that's pretty much the plainest way we could put it.
Yeah, and if Dustin Poirier were to get a victory in this fight, this would be one of the all-time career comeback moments, one of the all-time underdog win moments. This would be a moment we would never forget, but I do think that Islam just has all the tools to get it done here. But him being a 6-1 favorite, I do believe is unjust. If you want to try your luck, if you want to try Dustin's luck, it's not a bad move to put a bet on him. Just saying, but do be wary that he's got a nearly insurmountable challenge in Islam. Islam hasn't lost a fight in 9 years, and I expect him to go down as the greatest lightweight champion of all time once he retires.
Yeah, 100% agree. An interesting one in the main event. Islam Makhachev, Dustin Poirier. It's going to be a fantastic one. 302 pay-per-view. It's going to be a great one to watch. Can't wait for it. Would you say this is the last one? The last big chance for Dustin Poirier. If he loses this one, what would you say his title hopes are in the future? Do you reckon this is maybe the last hoorah?
I would have to say that is the case because I hate to be that guy, but I'll be that guy. He's 35 years old. Sure, he got the win last time out, but time is not on his side. And there's a lot of hungry contenders making their way up, guys that are constantly improving. And Dustin Poirier is, sure, he could still get some wins out there, but I got a feeling he would have a tough chance against some of these up-and-coming guys like Arman Sarukian, who's the #1 contender. I don't really favor Dustin. And also, you got Charles Oliveira still in the mix. It's not that easy for Dustin to get back, especially at that age.
Yeah, 100% agree. We both agree on that one. Let's see if we both agree on the co-main event of the evening. Sean Strickland returning, former UFC middleweight champion of the world after he defeated Israel Adesanya, but he's bouncing back after a loss against Dricus du Plessis. He takes on Paulo Costa, who's always game, always exciting. You never know what you're going to get from the Brazilian. He started to be in a little bit of his personalities came out on Twitter a lot in the last few fights. He's coming off a loss against Rob Whittaker. It was close. Rob Whittaker did what he needed to do. He outpointed him. Paulo Costa's last win was against Luke Rockhold, who is now fighting in karate combat. Before that, it was Yoel Romero. He's 1-3 in his last 4 fights. What can we expect, do you reckon, from Paulo Costa? I know he's 33 years old, but I'm heavily riding Sean Strickland. I think the boxing of Sean Strickland can cause some, what's the word? I don't know.
Issues.
I think issues. There we go. Issues to Paulo Costa. The only way I see Paulo Costa winning if he knocks out Sean Strickland, and I still don't feel like that's too far out the realm. I think that's something that can happen. I feel like Sean Strickland is a little bit chinny as well, so this could go either way. But I'm siding with Sean Strickland. I think the boxing's going to cause some issues with Paulo Costa. I think he's way too sharp on the jab, and he doesn't like to take a back foot. But ultimately, that could cost him in this fight if he doesn't want to take a back foot.
I feel like Sean Strickland said it best. He said that he will win unless he messes up, and he has messed up before. For example, back when he fought at welterweight, he fought Eliseo Zaleski dos Santos, who's fighting on this card, and he got clipped with a wheel kick and finished. He also fought Alex Pereira, and he got knocked out almost instantly in that fight. Those are two very powerful fighters. Paulo Costa, even in his last fight, he fought Robert Whitaker, and he was able to hurt him really bad with the wheel kick. So that is actually a possibility in this fight. But at the end of the day, I do like the fact that Sean Strickland has a fantastic jab. That jab was peppering Dricus Du Plessis all night in his last fight. In my opinion, Sean Strickland should have won his last fight and should still be champion. So this almost feels like a title fight to me. It's 5 rounds as well. Paulo Costa has fought 5 rounds before. He fought Marvin Vettori, and he actually won round 5. But you have to keep in mind that Paulo Costa didn't really cut weight for that fight. So it ended up being a 205 fight. Paulo Costa will be cutting weight for this fight. So I would imagine his cardio is not going to be as good as it was in that Vettori fight. He will be slowing down. And Sean Strickland has a really good gas tank, and he is going to be enjoying a 4-inch reach advantage in this fight. Paulo Costa was getting peppered with the jab by Robert Whitaker in his last fight. That's what helped Whitaker win that fight. Paulo Costa, he feels that if he can land the big shots, he doesn't need to land as many as his opponent. I just don't feel like that's the case here. I think that Sean Strickland will have a higher striking output over the 5 rounds, and I think he wins this fight on the scorecards by unanimous decision. But I could be totally wrong because Sean Strickland could still outland him, but the judges feel that Costa's power is more meaningful, just like they did with Dricus against Sean. They thought that Dricus' power was more meaningful. So as long as the judges favor the volume of Sean Strickland, I think he gets this done by decision. He's got better cardio, and he's got better, more cleaner boxing, if you ask me.
Yeah, 100% agree. I think the cleaner boxing is on the side of Sean Strickland. The jab is a thing of beauty. He's got some good striking in the right hand as well, which ultimately, stopped Adesanya basically. So he's got some really good box. I'm looking forward to that one. Brute force versus technical ability. So we're going to see what happens on the weekend. Great one going down co-main event. Sean Strickland versus Paulo Costa. We're both picking Sean Strickland. Next one, main card. Kevin Holland versus Michał-Oleksiejczuk. Kevin Holland recently came out and said that he was meant to fight Nick Diaz. That didn't happen. He's got the Polish Michał-Oleksiejczuk. How's this one going to go down? I'm fairly confident with Kevin Holland. I think he's ability. Obviously, he's long. He's rangy. He's very awkward with his style. I feel like he has a little bit of knockout power as well. And obviously, his submission threat as well. Obviously, he submitted Michael Chiesa. So obviously knocked out Santiago Ponzinibbio as well. He's got two loss streak though against Jack Della Maddalena and Michael Page. Two wins that you could probably look at as like, all right, oh well, two top 10 guys in the UFC champion in the UFC rankings. Michał-Oleksiejczuk, I feel like is a bit of a backward step for himself in terms of who he's fighting, the ability. Michelle, this is a big test for him. He's recently got submitted against Michelle Baharo, submitted against Kyle Bahalo, sorry. Other than that, he beats all the other guys. Lost against Dash Jacoby, Jimmy Crute, Owen St. Preux. Submitted most times. And that's what I see in this fight. I think Kevin Holland can submit him. I like a dance. Obviously, we've seen Kevin Holland throw up a few dances and get the job done. He likes that submission. I like the submission. Dance, Kevin Holland, or arm triangle, something like that. Michał-Oleksiejczuk. What are your thoughts, Oscar?
This is an exciting fight. This got added basically last minute. Kevin Holland, of course, has the reach advantage in this fight, but surprisingly, these guys not long ago were 2 whole weight classes apart. Kevin Holland was a welterweight, and Michał-Oleksiejczuk was a light heavyweight. Michał was very undersized at light heavyweight, but he hit like a truck, so he still had a lot of success there. He's got really good boxing. He knows how to work the body, but in his last fight against Michel Pereira, he got finished in like 30 seconds because he himself got hurt to the body and immediately gave up that rear naked choke. We could see a similar situation in this fight. Kevin Holland, back in his middleweight days, was a really successful fighter. He is one of the few fighters in UFC history to win 5 fights in a calendar year, and he did so good getting these finishes, very opportunistic. Knocked out Joaquin Buckley, Anthony Fluffy Hernandez, and Jacare Sosa in that time. Those wins have aged pretty well. I feel like he's gonna have to use his reach advantage in And whenever Michal tries to rush in, I think he can clip him here and there. I do like that Michal is pretty durable when it comes to head strikes. So I still think that this goes to the judges' scorecards. But as you pointed out, if we see this go to the ground, I don't think Kevin Holland will struggle too much to get submission here. He is a black belt, and Michal, as you said, poor submission defense. But I think these guys are going to strike for 15 minutes, and I think Kevin Holland gets the better of him using that reach advantage.
Yeah, I agree. Look forward to that one. Kevin Holland always in some exciting fights, so look forward to that one. Could be an interesting one in the main card. Make sure you tune in. Next one is a fight between two heavyweights, Jailton Almeida versus Alexander Romanov. Two heavyweights that like to grapple. Which one is going to be less sloppy? I feel like in this fight, whoever's less sloppy wins the fight. Jailton Almeida, one of the biggest hypes, I would say. With all the hype that he had against him going into that Curtis Blades fight, beating Douglas, beating Rosenstruik, beating Shamil. There was a lot of hype going into Jailton Almeida, and I thought it was justified. And then Curtis Blades absolutely shut it off. Absolutely, I wouldn't say exposed, but it's probably close to using that word. Probably not, probably a little bit exposed him a little bit. He takes on Romanov, who's 17-2. I just don't know which way this is going to go. This one's for me is a bit of a tough one to call. The odds here are favouring Jailton Almeida. I would probably slide on him a little bit, but this one, I don't know, man. I think this is two sloppy heavyweights going at it, and I feel like whoever's the least sloppiest wins.
Yeah, I think you make a great point there. Both guys had a fantastic rise in the UFC. They were looking almost unstoppable, and then they fought that higher competition, and they really struggled. Jailton Almeida, when he fought Curtis Blades, I had Curtis Blades as an underdog, but I will not lie to you. I was very nervous in that round one because he took down Curtis Blades 9 times. That has never happened. Curtis Blades has always been the better wrestler in his fights. So to see him getting basically ragdolled like that was very shocking to me. But Jailton Almeida did basically no damage in that round, and he tired himself out a lot. And in round two, he ended up getting clipped with some punches on his way into a takedown. That wasn't a great look, but I feel like we've seen Romanov look even worse when he fought Alexander Volkov, and he basically just got his back taken and then smashed on the ground. Also, the Juan Espino fight, he basically quit after he got really tired and was getting challenged. Um, we've seen chinks in the armor of both of these guys, but I do feel that Jailton Almeida has the better technique when it comes to the ground. Alexander Romanov is more of a Hulk. He likes to use his manpower to get things done. I think that Jailton Almeida can get takedowns early, and Romanov I feel is more of a confident fighter. When he's not confident, he kind of crumples, and especially when he gets a little tired. Jailton Almeida can fight 5 rounds. We saw him do it to Derek Lewis. So based on that, I do think he has the better gas tank, and I think he gets that top position in round one. And when it comes to round two, I think he gets another takedown. That's when Romanov will be looking for a way out. And I just think Jailton Almeida overwhelms him with ground and pound on top. And the referee stops the fight in round two.
Yeah, I'm interested to see where this goes. But yeah, I'm siding with Jailton Almeida. But this one, I feel like it should go anyway. It just we'll see what happens on the night. I feel like the best way to explain it. But yeah, look forward to that one. That's the last one on the. Well, actually, sorry, the next one is the last one on the main card, and that's Randy Rude Boy Brown versus Alessio Selecki. This one is a good one. I like Rude Boy. He's exciting. He's interesting. He's on a bit of a run. Obviously, then he lost to Jack Delaby Elena, but he's bounced back, beat Wellington Turman, beat Muslim Salikov. He's interesting. If you look at his wins inside the UFC, beat Chaos Williams, Jared Gooden, Alex Oliveira. He's only lost to Vicente Luque, Jack Delaby Elena in recent years. Obviously, Nikia Price, Bilal Muhammad. But what are you expecting in this one? Alessio Zaleski is a bit of a veteran inside the UFC, 10 wins, 3 losses. He's coming off a majority draw versus Rinat. Rinat, I don't know how to say his second name, but against Rinat. What are you expecting in this fight? bit of a close one as well, as the odds suggest as well. But quite close there.
I expect this to be a competitive fight. Eliseo Zaleski, he may be 37, but he still looks really good when he goes out there. He's had a fairly inactive run in the UFC. He's been in the UFC since like 2015, I think it is, and he's had an up and down stretch. But as I said, if he fought a little more, I feel like he'd be more popular, maybe even high in the rankings at times. He was once on I think it was a 7-fight win streak until he lost to the Leech Li Jingliang in China, got knocked out in that fight. But I pointed out earlier, he knocked out Sean Strickland. You just pointed out he went to a draw with Renat Fakhretdinov, which a lot of people thought was a future title challenger at that point, but he kind of exposed him there. And Randy Brown also is very underrated. He's won 6 of his last 7. These guys have always been on the outskirts of the top 15 and have done really well. But whenever they fight a little higher competitions, don't do as well. Randy Brown uses that boxing very effectively with his reach, a little similar to Kevin Holland. But there's times when he gets a little distracted and he gets hurt. Zaleski could find those moments in this fight, but assuming Randy Brown can stay focused, use that jab, I think he wins a striking fight throughout 15 minutes. Zaleski, of course, could use a little bit of grappling here if he wanted to, but that's not his usual. I think Randy Brown outstrikes him and wins the decision.
Yeah, I agree. I like Rude Boy. Very interesting character. Very, very. I believe he streams on Twitch as well. So make sure you go over and look at his Twitch. I'm not too sure what he plays, but I know he does. But yeah, interesting stuff. Like the look of it, this fight. I am also siding with Randy Brown as well. Randy Brown, Rude Boy. I think he gets it done against Leslie Selecki. So yeah, that one's good. First one on the prelim, we got Roman Kopylov versus Cesar Almeida. This one is a fantastic one. I love this one. We've got Roman Kopylov, who, fair enough, he's a kickboxer inside MMA. Then we've got Cesar Almeida, who's a traditional kickboxer. Went down that glory route, was a glory world champion. I believe Oscar, you might correct me, but I believe he beat Alex Bajera, or maybe lost.
Yeah,
he won and won.
He fought Alex Pereira 3 times, got 1 win, and lost 2 times to him after that.
Yeah.
But that was I think it was over 10 years ago. So, still, Cesar Almeida has a serious kickboxing pedigree. He's gone the distance with multiple champions in glory kickboxing. He knows what he's doing out there. Sure, he's a little older, but let's be honest, these guys are fighting at middleweight, so it's not. Speed is really not as relevant. Roman Kopylov, he may not have the same kickboxing background as Cesar, but he's still very capable of shutting the lights out of many opponents. He was on a really great run where he was getting all these finishes, but then he ran into Anthony Fluffy Hernandez, who overwhelmed him with pressure and eventually took advantage of his submission defense flaws, and he choked him out. Cesar Almeida, of course, is not going to do that to him, but he will give him a very tough fight on the feet. I think he's the better striker in this fight. He may only be 5-0, but he's got so much of that kickboxing experience. I think he probably has more punching power as well. I think Roman, if he were smart, I think he would have to go for takedowns in this fight. I guarantee you he's been working on that wrestling constantly. It's looked better as of late. So he should definitely challenge Almeida in that fight. That's how he can make this a little closer. But if they're just striking, I have to favor Cesar Almeida, who I think has a little more power, and I think he might have better cardio than Roman Kopylov as well. So I think he is only the underdog because people have so many questions about him being so early in his career with such little MMA experience. But I still am going to take him to win this fight by decision.
Yeah, if you look at Roman's career, never got a submission victory, so that's probably looking outside of the realm, isn't it? Weirder things have happened in MMA. So could there be a possibility? You never know. As you mentioned there, Kopylov been working on his wrestling Fight Talk 247. Yes, the boys. Shout out to Fight Talk. Absolute legend. See him hopefully in PFL Europe in Newcastle. That's going to be a great show as well. Yeah, so Roman Kopylov has to be working on his wrestling because that is a key route to victory. You mentioned it. Cesar Almeida being a glory kickboxer. There is only one thing you want to do if you come up against a glory kickboxer, and that's take them down. So, and I feel like that's what he's going to be working on. So, I'm trusting Roman Kopylov in this position, and I feel like he's going to, I think the first 2 rounds, I think he'll take, and then the third round, I think it might be close. So, yeah, I'm trusting Roman Kopylov. I think he gets this one job, that gets the job done, based on obviously Cesar Almeida being a proper traditional kickboxer. I feel like there's a route to victory in this one for Roman Kopylov, and I think he takes it. So, anyway, we've had weirder things. Alex Pereira's went on to be a double champion inside the UFC, and he was a glory kickboxer. So you never know. You never know. But yeah, I like this position for Roman Kopylov. I think he gets it done. And if Cesar Almeida wants a quick rise in the UFC, he's 36 years old. He needs a statement victory, so it needs to happen now. So he'll have that on his mind. Sorry. The other prelim, the second prelim, the second prelim that we're going to talk about, Grant Dawson versus Joe Selecki. I've got Grant Dawson. I think this one for me is pretty easy. I really highly rate Grant Dawson. I think he's fantastic. I think his ability to, obviously, how good his wrestling is. The only time he loses, the only time he has lost in recent year is that obviously that Bobby Green knockout last time out. He got clipped. That was it in round 1. It was over. But if you look at his wrestling, his grappling, it's superb. He has so many submission victories, rare naked chokes over the years. Has that draw against Ricky Glenn, but other than that, near perfect. That fantastic victory over Leonardo Santos. He's got a win over obviously Jared Gordon, Mark Madsen, Damir Uzumagulov. So he's good. I really like Grant Dawson in this position, and I feel like he beats Joe Selecki and potentially even taps him out by a rare naked choke. His favorite submission, clearly.
This is a grappler's delight here. This is also a bounce back fight for both guys, really, but more so for Grant Dawson. Grant Dawson, I feel like, is the 100% the A side in this fight. He fought in a main event of a fight night in his last fight against Bobby Green. Got knocked out in 30 seconds. That was a horrible look because if you know Bobby Green, the guy traditionally goes the distance. Grant Dawson, of course, will not have to face the same offense from Joe Selecki, who is a one-dimensional grappler. He's Grant Dawson's striking is better than Joe's, but he's going to get those takedowns. He's a better wrestler. I think that Joe Selecki has got really good jiu-jitsu, but Grant Dawson is not going to let him use it whatsoever. He will nullify him on the ground. Joe's submission defense, I think, will hold up in this fight. And I just think we see Grant Dawson get takedowns whenever he wants them and establish top control, not really take a lot of risks when it comes to chasing submissions or trying to land some ground and pound. I just think this will not be too exciting because Grant Dawson will be that dominant for the entirety of the 15 minutes.
Yeah, completely agree. Grant Dawson, KGD in this one. Gonna be a good one. Next one, Phil Rowe versus Jake Matthews. Jake Matthews, the Australian, taking on Phil Rowe, the American. 10-4 versus 19-7. Interesting matchup. If you look at this one, obviously Phil Rowe coming off a loss against Neil Magny, split decision loss. So there's some pros out of that. Beat Nico Price, beat Jason Witt. Now he takes on Jake Matthews, who's had a lot more fights than him, very more experienced. But if you look at Jake Matthews in recent time, he lost to Michael Morales. So before that, beat Darius Flowers, lost to Matthew Semmelsberger. This one, who are you choosing? Oscar? Is it the American in Phil Rowe, or is it the Australian Jake Matthews?
I got to go with Phil Rowe in this fight just because I feel like we've seen the best that Jake Matthews has to offer so far. This guy was in the UFC like 10 years ago when he was 19. And since then, he's made some improvements in his boxing, in his grappling, but I just don't think we're going to see him reach the top 15 at any time. Phil Rowe is very physically impressive. He's got that very long reach, over 80 inches. He's 6'3". He's a big guy at welterweight. He had a close fight with Neil Magny, but the reason he lost that fight is his striking output wasn't that high. And but in the clinch, it was very close, and we know how good Neil Magny is in the clinch. He beats a lot of guys in the clinch. Phil Rowe has some success there, so Phil Rowe can, I think, overpower Jake Matthews when they're in the clinch, and if they're striking, that reach advantage I think will come in handy. And on the ground, I don't think Phil Rowe will be overwhelmed by Jake Matthews. Jake Matthews is able to overpower these low level guys, guys that have been cut from the UFC since. Phil Rowe is not scared of any challenge. He's grappled against Craig Jones and Gordon Ryan, who were considered two of the best in grappling today. Sure, he got tapped out immediately, but that shows you that he's constantly training his jiu-jitsu. He's not scared of a challenge. Jake Matthews is nowhere near those guys. I think Phil Rowe will win this fight by decision by using his clinch control time up against the fence.
Completely agree. I got Phil Rowe as well. Fantastic one. 10-4 versus 1970. American Phil Rowe to get the job done. Next one, got two Americans. 15-7 Nico Price versus Alex Morono. 24-9. Nico Price in recent years, obviously losing to Robbie Lawler. Robbie Lawler's last fight, getting starched like that. As a fan of Robbie Lawler, it was good to see Robbie go out like that. But now you got to look at and see where Nico Price is at. He's not been on the best run. He has absolutely since 2019. That win against James Vick, the up kick, a loss to Vicente Luque, a no contest against Donald Cerrone, a loss against Michel Pereira. He beat Alex Oliveira, lost to Phil Rowe, lost to Robbie Lawler. So in this position, can we trust Nico Price, or are we rooting for Alex Morono? And I think that's where I'm at. I think Alex Morono, if you look in the recent years, the recent form, has beat Court McGee, has beat Tim Means, beat Matthew Semmelsberger. He's only lost to Santiago Ponzinibbio and Jockey Buckley in the last 2-3 years. So yeah, I think Alex Morono is the pick with a little bit of confidence as well. I think maybe Nico Price, with all them wars that he's had in the past, maybe taking effect.
Yeah, this is actually a tough one for me because these guys already fought. It got overturned to a no contest because of a positive drug test on the Nico Price side. It was due to marijuana, which is ridiculous. I still think that's a legitimate win for Nico Price. But since then, we've seen a decline in the durability of Nico Price. There's no doubt about it. Got knocked out by Jeff Neal, got knocked out by Phil Rowe. And in his last fight, Robbie Lawler was able to knock him out in like 30 seconds. So he's not the durable Nico Price that we used to know and love. And it's and for Alex Morono, I was not that excited about his last fight. He fought Court McGee, who I think is on the cusp of retirement. And Court McGee was able to outstrike him 60-38. So that for me is a little concerning. We could also see a little bit of decline in Morono's game. But I just think that the evidence is too overwhelming on the Price side that his durability is not that great. And I feel like a lot of his game in back in the day was dependent upon him being able to eat, basically defend punches with his chin. So if he can't do that, he can't really go forward and land the big strikes that he usually does. So I think Morono is going to piece him up, unfortunately, for these 15 minutes. And also, when it comes to grappling, Morono is a black belt. I think he can get takedowns if he were to get wobbled on the feet in this fight. I'm going to have to go with Morono here, who's had a better form as of late, to win by decision.
Yeah, completely agree. Next one on the prelims, you've got Mickey Gall versus Basil Hapes. I like Mickey Gall in this spot. He might be an underdog, but I like Mickey Gall. If you look where Mickey Gall does his best work, is grappling. If you look at how he loses, it's getting knocked out or he's losing a decision. If you look at his losses, Mike Malott, obviously, he went on to lose to Neil Magny, but a pretty decent prospect. Alex Morono, who we just talked about, Mike Perry, Diego Sanchez, Randy Brown. I feel like other than that, he beats them. So I feel like he beats Brazil Hafez, and I feel like he submits him. I like his ground game. If you look at Brazil Hafez, not really a striking. I feel like a striking threat. Bit more of a decision, split decision, triangle chokes. More of a grappler. If you look at his record. So yeah, I feel like I'm rooting for Mickey Gall. And also because I like the guy. I'm rooting for him. So yeah, I've got Mickey Gall, and I feel like the grappling as well is going to pay dividends. And this is a big one for Mickey Gall. He needs this one. He needs it. 2 losses back to back. If it's 3 back to back losses, it could be game over inside the UFC. So this is the must win.
I kind of agree with you there. I actually thought that Mickey Gall got cut because he hasn't fought that long. It was 2 years ago where he got knocked out by Mike Milan, but I have to vehemently disagree with you on this totally. Mickey Gall, I do like him. He beat the great and powerful CM Punk back in the day. That's no easy task. Not everybody can do it. Not even Mike Jackson that even got overturned. But let's be honest, his resume is not great. After that Punk win, he beats Sage Northcutt, beats George Sullivan, Salim Tuhari, Jordan Williams. That's it. These guys are basically no names, nowhere near the rankings. For Basil Hafez, lost his debut, sure, but he fought Jack Della Maddalena, and he took him down 3 times. It was a split decision. A lot of people thought that Basil won the fight. He's a powerhouse. I think his jiu-jitsu is better than Mickey Gall's, from what I've seen. And if Mickey Gall can't use his jiu-jitsu in this fight, I don't think he has that great of a striking to fall back on. So Basil Hafez, I think, gets takedowns in this fight without any issue. And Mickey Gall's going to be stuck on the floor, attempting submissions and failing to get them. Basil Hafez will get all the control time in this fight, and he wins the decision without much adversity, if you ask me.
Yeah, this one's a tough one to call, but this could be your told you so fight of the week. We're
It is.
both going that way. So I'm on the Mickey Gall side. You're on the Basil Hafez side. So this one is going to be interesting. I'm excited to see how this plays out. But yeah, next one: Jocelyn Edwards versus Aline Perez. Two decent 135 pounders in the women division. Edwards coming off a loss against Nora Corleone, and obviously Alan Perez 2 win streak against Ashley Evans Smith and Lucy Polidova. This one, who are you choosing? Alan Perez, a bit of a character inside the octagon, likes to shake her thing around. Bit of a moderate favourite. Who have you got and why?
I think this is fairly easy. These two already had a fight in the UFC.I. That's why Aline Perez had a black eye in her last fight, heading into the fight. So they absolutely hate each other. But Jocelyn Edwards, her takedown defense has failed her in almost every single fight. And Aline Perez, her nickname is Nurmagomedov. She models herself after her babe, loves to wrestle. It gets better with every fight. Her top control is very good. Jocelyn Edwards, as I pointed out, does not know how to defend those takedowns that well. Sure, she can get up here and there, but it's going to be overwhelming for Perez. Perez is going to get a very dominant win in this fight on the feet. Edwards is not this hard hitter anyway, so Perez will win this fight by decision.
Yeah, great pick. Agree with the pick. That's the second fight of the evening. Let's talk about the first fight of the evening. You might recognize that man, Andre Lima. He's the guy that got bit. I got fucking bit bonus. Went to that guy, Andre Lima, and you might recognize the other guy as well, Mitch Raposo. Raposo. He was on the Ultimate Fighter, if I'm correct. So he's now making a return back, and the Contender Series. So he's making a return back to the UFC. He fought in the Ultimate Fighter season 29, then had a fight on the 10 series immediately after that against Jake Hadley, lost by decision. But since then, has gone on a 4-fight winning streak. Now he's back inside the UFC. Does he beat Andre Lima 8-0? I believe this one a little bit of a short notice. 12 days, 14 days, something like that. So how much can we really take into that? And who wins this one? Because it's two prospects at 125 pounds, 8-0 versus 9-1. I would side Andre Lima, but I still feel like there's not too much that we can really take away from his debut as well. So obviously, who have you got in this one?
I have to go with Andre Lima in this fight because he had a full camp. Mitch Raposo was supposed to fight on the Contender Series in a couple months, so he didn't even have half of his camp in this fight. Andre Lima, in his last fight, it was really exciting. It was back and forth. He was swinging with bad intentions. I actually thought he was losing. The momentum was not going in his way. He was getting taken down a lot. And then his opponent just bit him out of the blue. You can't make that stuff up. Mitch Raposo, he does have somewhat of a wrestling game. He does have decent boxing, but I just don't think he's super high level. Neither is Lima, don't get me wrong, but I think Lima has better kickboxing for sure. He's got more power, if you ask me. And I just think Mitch Raposo took the opportunity just to get in the UFC. I don't think he'll be 100% ready. We've seen him before in the Ultimate Fighter against Ludovic Sholinian. He lost that fight, got out wrestled, and then he fought Jake Hadley on Contender Series. He got tapped out in that fight. I'm not too high on Mitch Raposo. I do think he's somebody that could work his way up to being a higher level guy, but just not yet, especially not on a full camp. I think Lima will land the bigger shots throughout the fight, and I think he wins the decision.
Yeah, close one's cool. Good fight to start off the evening. Going to be a close one, and it's between two flyweights. I always like when the flyweights open the action. I feel like it sets the tone. They're exciting to watch. They're very technical. I feel like it's one of the best divisions that we have inside the UFC, if not in MMA right now. So looking forward to that one. And I agree. Andre Lima is the pick I'd go for as well. So that's pretty much 302 in a nutshell. Going down in Newark, New Jersey, United States, UFC 302 on pay-per-view. Oscar, other than the main event and co-main event, what's your pick for potential fight in night or potential fight under the radar that you've got this weekend?
Yeah, for Friday the night, it's going to be Sean Strickland and Paulo Costa. Sean Strickland saying that they're going to stand in the middle and they're going to swing. I think that will be a very exciting fight. The fight under the radar for me is Roman Kopylov and Cesar Almeida. I feel like nobody's talking about that fight. Cesar Almeida deserves a little more hype with that previous win over Alex Pereira. And this will deliver for sure because both guys are very powerful strikers, and we could for sure see a knockout in that fight. I think it's going to be exciting the whole way through.
Yeah, 100%. I got for my under the radar fight. I got Phil Rowe, Jake Matthews. I think that's going to be an entertaining fight. Looking forward to that one. It's going to be a scrap. We've got UFC back this week, and we've got MMA back this weekend, so it's going to be a good weekend. I'm looking forward to it. What else have we got this weekend? Is there any other promotions that we could potentially catch? We got the 5v5.
Yeah, Deontay Wilder.
Yeah, Deontay Wilder. That literally just slipped my head for a second. So yeah, I'll quickly load that up. What else? We've got ACA as well. Actually, yeah. So we had that. That's already been and gone. Actually, I think. Yeah. Yeah, the ACA actually goes down tomorrow. So we've got Davi Ramos in the main event. He's fighting UFC. But yeah, 5v5 Matchroom versus Queensbury Boxing. Going to be an interesting one here. All the stakes. Eddie Hearn's going to want to beat Frank Warren. And this is what it comes down to. Deontay Wilder on the Matchroom side. Zhilei Zhang on the Queensbury side. It's a really good fight card. I'm looking for. We've got Dimitri Bivol as well. Yep. Philippe Hergovich, Daniel Dubois, Ray Ford, Nick Ball, Hamza Shiraz, Austin Williams, Willie Hutchinson, Craig Richards. Yeah, we got some really, really good fights on this fight card. Who have you got? Deontay Wilder or Zhilei Zhang?
This is very tough to pick. I will have to side with Wilder just because we saw Zhang hurt a lot in his last fight. He had come back from some adversity. And with Wilder, unless you're Tyson Fury, you're not going to survive many knockdowns. So I'll take Wilder, even though he looked really bad in his last fight.
Yeah, I'm gonna take I'm gonna take Zhang Zhang. I think the Chinaman upsets, well, not upsets, but gets the win against Deontay Wilder. I feel like what I've seen from Deontay Wilder in his last fight against Joe Joyce, against Joseph Parker, really doesn't set me up with hope, too much hope heading into this one. So I'm going with Zhang Zhang. I feel like he's he's got some good boxing fundamentals with him as well, and he's got some power as well. Obviously, he knocked out Joe Joyce. Who knocks out Joe Joyce? He knocked out Joe Joyce. Joe Joyce is an absolute machine who likes to take to a punch to a head. Keeps walking forward, and Joe Joyce got starched by Zhang. So I'll go Deontay Wilder. If Deontay Wilder wins, though, I think it's the first 6 rounds. Other than that, I feel like he gets dominated after them.
Yeah, fair enough. And this is part of Saudi Arabia's fantastic, I would say, reinvigoration of boxing. And they're also investing in MMA. We have a fantastic fight night. What is it? The week before Conor McGregor's fight, June 22nd, Hamza Chimaev and Robert Whitaker. There's a lot to look forward to this month in mixed martial arts. And we also have Conor McGregor closing out the month on the 29th. This is a fantastic month to tune into the podcast because we're going to have very fun preview shows with these fights. I think we'll be going longer than usual on these fights.
Yeah, 100%. It's a fantastic card, as you can see there. Daniel Rodriguez, Kelvin Gastelum, Johnny Walker, Volkan Oezdemir, Sergey Pavlovich, Alexander Volkov, and as you mentioned, Robert Whitaker, Hamza Chimaev. So the Saudis are investing money into the right sports in MMA and boxing. So we love it. Combat sports are finally getting the fights that we needed, wanted, and now we get to see it go down. So yeah. Thank you to the Saudis and thank you to the oil because that's where the money's coming from. So, an absolute pleasure. Oscar, thank you so much. Any last sending off words before we let them all go?
If His Excellency would want to fly us over, just interview the fighters, that'd be fantastic. But either way, make sure to enjoy the fights. Whoever you're rooting for, I'm sure you will have a good time this Saturday watching UFC 302 in Newark, New Jersey. As I said, make sure to tune in every week because this is going to be an outstanding month. We're going to close that out with Conor McGregor and Michael Chandler on June 29th. Make sure to enjoy the fight this Saturday.
Yeah, absolutely. Make sure you join this this Saturday. Last words for me is let's go to Diamond. Let's go Dustin Poirier.